Ramping up your business? The time is near. You've given it heart. Now get it in gear. It's Passage to Profit with Richard and Elizabeth Gearhart.
I'm Richard Gearhart, founder of Gearhart Law, a full-service intellectual property law firm specializing in patents, trademarks, and copyrights.
And I'm Elizabeth Gearhart, not an attorney, but I do marketing for Gearhart Law, and I am the founder of Gear Media Studios, a full-service podcast studio.
Welcome to Passage to Profit, the road to entrepreneurship, where we talk with entrepreneurs and celebrities about their business journeys. And now it's time for our guest interview. Today's guest sells businesses like hotcakes, except with more spreadsheets and fewer carbs. So we're joined today by Cameron Bishop, a powerhouse executive entrepreneur and managing director at Raincatcher, one of the nation's top business brokerage and M&A firms. So Cameron, nice to see you. What does a business broker do?
Well, thank you for the introduction, and thank you for having me on your show. It's a great opportunity, hopefully to help spread my passion message, which is about helping business owners to understand what it takes to have a valuable company. There are 10,000 baby boomers turning age 65 every single day, and many of them are business owners. And the trends today are that most of their children don't want to take over the family business, which was historically how businesses transferred from generation to generation. And they're left with the alternative, since it's the primary source of potential wealth for them, and particularly generational wealth. They choose to sell their company. And if they do so, they most often contract or engage with someone like myself as a business broker, or we're specializing as lower middle market investment bankers. And we help them prepare their company for sale, package it, market it, and work with them to find a buyer for the business. So we'll bring in all the experts, whether M&A attorneys or wealth managers or tax experts, and we literally hold their hand through the entire process, because everybody thinks investment bankers are folks who just do contracts and mess around with numbers and percentages and dollars and negotiate. But about 50% of my job is what I refer to as Dr. Phil work, and that's actually the most rewarding part of the job. Selling a business for a business owner is a very stressful process. It's a roller coaster ride. It's 9 or 10 months long, and it's very difficult for these owners because that business is their baby. It's been their life. And so we spend a lot of time coaching them and helping them see the right perspective to get through a very strenuous process.
We had friends that sold a business recently, and of course, he's staying on as a consultant for a couple of years. I think that's kind of normal, isn't it?
Yeah, it is very normal for most buyers of businesses to want some level of risk mitigation through an ongoing relationship with that previous owner of the business in some capacity, because they know the insides and outs of the business. And they often have strong customer relationships as well as employee relationships, and they want that knowledge transfer as the new buyer of the business.
So is it really a lot more difficult if you don't start your business thinking, I'm going to sell this in 10 years? If you start your business thinking this is a lifestyle business that I'm just going to do for the rest of my life till I retire, and I'm not going to worry about all the things I need to do to sell it until I hit 64, whatever. I mean, I know some people start their business with the intent to sell. How hard is it to make the CH?
Unfortunately, the vast majority of people don't think about the end in mind, but they start the business. And that is a key problem. Look, it's a sad fact, but every business owner is going to leave their business one day, and they'll have the choice to leave it standing up or laying down. And I taught for a while a course for the small business administration at a local college here in the Kansas City market. And that's one of my course subjects was, if you're going to start a business, if you're in an early stage of a business, start that business with an end game in mind. And most business owners don't understand that there are differences between running a business just to take an income or some profits or avoid paying taxes or run some personal expenses through the business. There are differences from running a business that way than there are with a target of creating value so that you will be able to sell that business at the end of the day. And you mentioned another key buzzword in the arena, which is a challenge for folks. Many business owners who come to us say, I want to sell my business, don't really have a sellable company because they really have what's called a lifestyle business. So I mentioned earlier on the program here, I was a consultant. That was a lifestyle business. That business was solely dependent on my knowledge and my network, there was nothing to sell. If I went away, so did the knowledge of the business. And many business owners don't have a true sustainable business that will operate without them there. If they get hit by the proverbial bus, there's no income coming in. And they're shocked with this because many of them make a whole lot of money, but it's still a business that is solely dependent on them as an individual.
And I think one of the interesting things is that one of the advantages of being an entrepreneur is that you can build an asset. So if you are working for somebody else, you're adding value to the shareholders and building an asset for the owners of the company. But if you're the owner of the company or you're part of a management team and you have ownership in the company, then you're not only generating income for yourself, but hopefully creating something that can be sold down the line. But what do you tell people who are solopreneurs or individual consultants that want to try to create a company that has asset value and can be sold? What kind of steps would they take to start making that transition?
Well, the first thing is, again, to understand that if they're a solopreneur and it's essentially a lifestyle business, they have to recognize that fact to begin with. Then they need to begin building out the company. And that's a challenge for a lot of these solopreneurs because if they're an S Corp or a LLC pass-through entity, the profits of the company are their income. And in order to build it out as a true sustainable business that will have value and be sellable, they have to invest back into that business. That usually involves bringing on additional employees, somebody who can be a successor to that individual. And it's a tough decision for many owners because they don't want to give up the profits or the income in the short term to invest into the company to build out for the long term and for that potential future generational wealth value creating exit for the business.
So, how can an owner thinking about selling their business prepare for the sale of their business?
Well, if they have a business that is going to be sellable, the first thing they need to think about is some kind of an event happens in the business and it creates a lot of stress for them or certainty or doubt. And they just wake up one day and say, that's it, I'm done, I'm selling. And that's the worst
That
possible.
sounds like a terrible reason. I just got to get out of here.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it happens all the time. It becomes a very spontaneous situation. They say, that's it, I'm ready to sell. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm tired, or I can't find more employees, which is the thing we hear a lot today. That's a challenge for business owners.
What do you mean by that? You can't find employees? Is it because the unemployment rate is so low? Is that the issue? Or they can't find the right employees? What are they talking about there?
Boy, that is a fascinating question. I could probably be filthy rich to do a whole show's out if I had the true answer to that. But I'll tell you, Richard, in our firm, we are industry agnostic. We represent business owners in about every imaginable business or industry, from heavy construction and mining operations to business services, SaaS platform companies, digital marketing agencies. And in every business sector, business owners tell us that is one of the primary challenges that they have today. They either can't find employees to hire, or they hire somebody and they don't show up for work, or they hire them and some short period of time into the new employment, that employee ghosts them. A lot of business owners are frustrated because they feel that they could grow their business. For example, a road construction client that I had in Arizona, he said, I could be growing my business 20% right now. I'd have to add an additional crew of 14 people. They paid above market wages for their employees. They had good benefits, and they just couldn't find the workers to grow the business. It's an interesting phenomenon today that has really evolved, I think, during and post-COVID, and it's changed the reasons why a lot of business owners choose to sell.
Well, it's interesting given the times that we're in and the culture seems to be trying to bring jobs back to the United States. Yet, on the other hand, we seem to have this issue where we're not really sure how people want to work after COVID, right? I mean, COVID changed a lot of things. It created an environment where people kind of didn't work anymore and everything's changed. I'm not really sure that we've recovered from that yet.
Yeah, I would say we have not. Based on the anecdotal input we get at our firm daily from business owners who call us saying, I think it's time for me to sell my company. And our first question for them is always, okay, why are you thinking about selling? And the reasons changed markedly post-COVID. Pre-COVID, the majority of reasons business owners sold were the ones that everybody would suspect. I want to play more golf. I want to spend more time with my spouse. My spouse has been ill. I need to take care of him or her want to spend more time with the grandkids, I want to travel. We still do hear those, don't get me wrong. But post-COVID, many business owners, and again, we're talking a lot of aging out baby boomers as well. So they lived through the severe economic downturn. They lived through COVID, and they've just kind of reached a point where they don't have the same level of energy anymore. And the drivers are a lot of these demands around finding, hiring, and retaining talent today. It's a national phenomenon across industries.
And I think it's even harder to get people if you want them physically in your space. Because I've tried to find some people for the studio that would come in part-time maybe and help me run the studio. So I don't always have to be here. So it's not dependent on me. I'm trying eventually, I mean, I just opened it, but eventually I do want it to the point where it runs without me. And then eventually I will sell it. That's my plan. But it's hard to find people that will come into a studio and stay here all day. And if I go on these different sites, I get all these people responding, "Oh, yeah, yeah, but they're in other countries." And it's like, how are you going to physically come into my studio? It's like trying to use these job sites. The filters don't work. You cannot
Yeah.
filter them for people that are close to you that can physically come and work. So, in terms of selling your business, though, does that mean that you sell your team with the business? Do you sell it intact except for you? Like everybody that was working for you goes to this new person who bought it and you're the only one not there?
Yep, that's essentially the case. You're selling the brand, the business model, the successful processes and systems that are in place that made the company successful and valuable to begin with. And certainly the employee population is part of that process. And as you mentioned earlier, most times buyers would like the owner to stay on for generally a minimum of a year, sometimes longer. If the buyer happens to be a financial buyer, like a private equity firm or something, they may try to convince the owner to stay on and continue to own equity in the company, which for many business owners can be an extremely beneficial and profitable process. But yeah, all of the equipment, for example, in a road construction business, there are sometimes millions of dollars worth of equipment that go with the business because that equipment is what's going to be necessary for the business to continue to operate.
Cameron Bishop, seasoned executive and entrepreneur, and currently managing director of Raincatcher, an award-winning business broker service. Passage to Profit with Richard and Elizabeth Gearhart. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Let me tell you a story about Bill. Bill was a normal guy in his 50s. He had back surgery about 2 years ago. Bill was in a lot of pain. He dealt with his pain by taking the Percocets his doctor prescribed for him. Bill took more and more and more of them to help with the pain, until one day the prescriptions weren't enough to get rid of Bill's pain. Then one day Bill found someone to help him get rid of the pain with illegal drugs he didn't need a prescription for. Fast forward to today. Bill lost his job and his family. The only thing he does have is his drug dealer. If you know Bill's story and you don't want to end up like Bill, call the Detox and Treatment Helpline right now to get away and get treatment.
800-980-1761. 800-980-1761. 800-980-1761. That's 800-980-1761. Are you running a small business with 2 or more employees struggling to find affordable health insurance? Well, help is just a call away. Whether you're a restaurant owner, retail store manager, or a gig worker with staff, we've got you covered. Get quality health insurance plans starting as low as $120 a month. Our custom comparison tool finds plans tailored specifically to your business. We know it can be tough to find the right coverage. That's why we're here, to make the process seamless and stress-free. Our plans include health, vision, and dental coverage, all at unbeatable rates. Call the Small Business Health Insurance Hotline now. We'll compare top providers to get you the best deal in one quick phone call. Don't wait. Secure the benefits you and your employees deserve today. Call now. Rates may vary based on location and coverage options. 802-491-2084. 802-491-2084. 802-491-2084. That's 802-491-2084.
Now back to Passage to Profit. Once again, Richard and Elizabeth Gearhart.
We're talking with Cameron Bishop, the Cupid of capitalism. He matches buyers and sellers. During the break, we were talking with Cameron.
I had asked Cameron, does somebody ever buy a business just to get rid of it? I've heard of this happening in the tech sector quite a bit, where they buy a business and you can get the SaaS or whatever you're getting from it, and all of a sudden you can't anymore because it got bought by somebody else. That would be pretty hard as a business seller, I think. Has that happened in your experience?
Yeah, I have certainly seen cases where that has happened. I had a client that had a very high-tech piece of testing equipment for the automotive industry. It's a husband and wife business, and the husband was a brilliant engineer. He had 7 patents, and there were 3 other companies out there. They'd been through 2 patent infringement lawsuits, one of whom was a direct competitor. And that created a very delicate situation because we had to settle an IP patent infringement case prior to being able to enter any kind of negotiations when there's any kind of legal action. But when you get into the complexities of intangible IP related law and patents and trademarks, yeah, that can get really dicey in an M&A scenario. Yeah, we had to get that situation settled first, but then once you've done that, it's a very delicate selling process with a competitor looking at buying another competitor, because you have to go with we call open kimono. You have to show all of your information. There's risks of not only stealing IP, but also potentially losing key employees, especially if they're key knowledge holders like engineers that maybe also help design and develop later versions of IP-related technology. So there could be a lot of reasons that are company-specific or macro level. The uncertainty around whether you agree or disagree with a lot of the changes taking place today, the point is that it does change creates uncertainty. And uncertainty right now is a factor that's a determinant and a consideration whether to sell at this time.
Cameron Bishop, seasoned executive and entrepreneur, and currently managing director of Raincatcher, an award-winning business broker service.
How do people find you?
They can reach me at cameron.bishop@raincatcher.com, or they can always find me on LinkedIn. Check out our website, raincatcher.com.
Passage to Profit is a nationally syndicated radio show appearing in 38 markets across the United States. In addition, Passage to Profit has also been recently selected by FeedSpot Podcasters Database as a top 10 entrepreneur interview podcast. Thank you to the P2P team, our producer Noah Fleischman, and our program coordinator Alicia Morrissey, and our studio assistant Risikat Busari. Look for our podcast tomorrow anywhere you get your podcasts. Our podcast is ranked in the top 3% globally. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, X, and on our YouTube channel. And remember, while the information on this program is believed to be correct, never take a legal step without checking with your legal professional first. Gearhart Law is here for your patent, trademark, and copyright needs. You can find us at gearhartlaw.com and contact us for a free consultation. Take care, everybody. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back next week.